You don't belong here. Those were the exact words my father hissed at me, his voice slicing through the laughter and chatter of our family reunion. Everyone stopped eating. Forks hovered in midair. My cousins stared at me like I was some kind of intruder. And my father, the man who was supposed to protect me, the man who raised me, stood there with a hard face, pointing his finger like I was poison. You don't belong here, he repeated, louder this time. My chest tightened as the words burned into my skin like acid. My hands trembled, but I held my chin high, refusing to let them see me break. Then I said one thing, one single thing, that froze the entire backyard, silenced every voice, and made my father's face drain of all color. But before I tell you what I said, I need you to understand how I got here. Because this story is not just about betrayal. It's about love turned to ashes, trust shattered like glass, and the kind of revenge that rewrites the end of a family's story forever. If you want to know how a daughter brought a family empire to its knees, my family, then keep listening. And hey, don't forget to like, watch, and subscribe for more stories that will make your heart race. My name is Emily Carter. I'm the only daughter of Daniel Carter, a man everyone in our town saw as a self-made king. He built his wealth from construction, but the truth? He built his empire on secrets, lies, and betrayal. And I was one of his best-kept secrets. My childhood was complicated. Mom left when I was 12. She couldn't take Dad's temper anymore. He was always charming to the outside world, but inside the house, he was a storm. When she left, I stayed with him because I thought, naively, that he'd need me, that maybe I could be the one person to calm him. But instead of drawing me closer, he treated me like a burden. By the time I was 17, he had remarried. Linda, his second wife, was young, beautiful, and cold. She had no children of her own, but she never wanted me around. She treated me like I was a shadow she couldn't get rid of. And my dad, he let her. He let her erase me piece by piece. Still, I fought to belong. I tried to be the good daughter. I worked in his office, helped with projects, even covered for his mistakes. I thought loyalty would earn me love. But loyalty only made me invisible. It wasn't until college that I finally had a taste of freedom. I fell in love with Michael, a law student with kind eyes and a dangerous edge. He wasn't perfect, but he made me feel seen. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just Daniel Carter's daughter. I was Emily. But Michael came with baggage.
Debt.
Trouble with the wrong people. I stood by him anyway, thinking love was enough. When he was accused of theft at the law firm where he interned, I fought for him. I gave him money to clear his name. I even stole files from my father's office once to help Michael win a case. That was my first crime.
And it wouldn't be my last.
Because that single act, helping Michael, set off a chain reaction that would drag me through police stations, courtrooms, and eventually back to the very reunion where my father spat the words, "You don't belong here." But let's slow down. That night at the reunion, when my father humiliated me, was not the beginning of my revenge.
No.
That moment was the explosion. The match. The fire I had been building for years. And it all started months before, when I discovered one thing, one secret, that changed everything. It was late one evening when I stayed late at Dad's office, going through paperwork. He had asked me to sort files for an upcoming project. But what I found wasn't just contracts or invoices. It was a hidden folder. Bank statements. Wire transfers. And names I recognized, names tied to dirty deals, bribes, even money laundering. My father wasn't just a king of construction. He was laundering money for people who didn't forgive mistakes. And if the truth came out, it wouldn't just destroy him, it would destroy everyone tied to him. I should have walked away. I should have pretended I saw nothing. But something inside me shifted. All those years of rejection, of being treated like a stranger in my own family, came boiling up. I realized I finally had a weapon.
Proof.
A way to bring him down. At first, I thought about giving it to the police. But then I thought, why should the law have all the fun? Why shouldn't I be the one to decide his fate? After all, hadn't he decided mine every day of my life? And that was the first night I tasted the idea of revenge. But revenge is never simple. Because the more I dug, the more dangerous things got. One night, I was followed home. Another night, I found a warning note slipped under my apartment door. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. I was scared, terrified, but I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. The next family reunion was approaching. I hadn't planned to go, why would I? They never wanted me there anyway. But then I thought, what better place? What better stage to show them all who Daniel Carter really was? And so I went. The music was loud, the tables full of food, kids running everywhere. At first, no one paid attention to me. They always ignored me. But then Dad spotted me, and his smile vanished.
His jaw tightened.
And in front of everyone, his friends, his wife, my cousins, he stood and shouted, "You don't belong here." I looked at him, my heart pounding like a drum. And then I said one thing, one truth, one word that shattered his mask and made the whole reunion collapse into chaos. But before I tell you what I said, you need to know just how far I was willing to go. Because what happened next wasn't just a family fight. It was the beginning of war. And the first casualty was not who you'd expect. I could still hear the words ringing in my ears. "You don't belong here." My father's voice was so sharp it cut through the music, the laughter, even the children's giggles. My hands were trembling, but my voice came out steady. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "Ask them where you hide the blood money, Dad. Tell them who you're really working for." The entire backyard fell silent. Plates clattered. My Aunt Susan gasped so loud it sounded like a scream. My father's face, once confident, proud, untouchable, turned the color of ash. "What did you say?" His voice was low now, shaking, but everyone heard. Every pair of eyes shifted from me to him, waiting. I could feel my cousins whispering, the kids looking confused, Linda clutching her pearls like she was choking. That was the moment I knew I had lit the match, and there was no turning back. But before anyone could demand answers, my father grabbed my arm and yanked me inside the house. His grip was so tight I thought he'd snap my wrist. He slammed the door. The music muffled behind us and hissed into my face. "They killed Michael to protect your father. Don't trust anyone inside. Watch your back." I froze. My head whipped around, but she was gone. Just a shadow disappearing into the crowd. Who was she? How did she know? I didn't have answers. All I knew was that the nightmare had just deepened. And jail wasn't just jail anymore, it was a hunting ground. That night, back in my cell, a fight broke out between two women across the hall. Guards rushed in, chaos erupted. And through the noise, I heard it, my name. Emily Carter. I turned. A woman in the shadows of my cell smiled, her teeth glinting under the flickering light. "They told me to make sure you don't make it out of here alive." And then she lunged. Her body slammed into mine so hard I hit the concrete wall, the back of my head ringing like a church bell. Her hand shot for my throat, squeezing, her nails digging into my skin. "They don't want you leaving here, Carter," she hissed, her breath hot and sour. I clawed at her wrists, gasping for air, the world going fuzzy around the edges. Panic surged, but so did rage. I thought about my father, about Michael, about the humiliation of that reunion, and something inside me snapped. With every ounce of strength, I drove my knee up into her ribs. She grunted, loosened her grip, and I shoved her off me. She stumbled but came charging again, a wild animal with murder in her eyes. This time I was ready. I grabbed the only thing near me, a rusted metal tray for my dinner. As she lunged, I swung. The tray cracked against her face with a sickening thud. Blood sprayed. She collapsed to the ground, groaning, clutching her nose. The guards burst in seconds later, dragging her away while she screamed, "You won't survive this, Emily. They'll keep coming." And then it was quiet. Too quiet. That night, lying on the hard cot, I couldn't stop shaking. Not just from the attack, but from the meaning behind her words. They'll keep coming. Who were they? My father? His partners? Whoever killed Michael. And then it hit me, this wasn't about protecting me. This was about silencing me. Michael had been killed for that phone. I was next. The next morning, I demanded to see my lawyer. I didn't trust him much, but he was all I had. His name was Jonathan Reed, a clean-cut man who worked mostly on corporate cases. He looked nervous when he entered the room. "You're making dangerous enemies, Emily," he muttered. I slammed my palms on the table. "Tell me the truth, Jonathan. Did my father send someone after me?" He froze. That was all the answer I needed. "You don't understand," he said finally. "Your father isn't just a businessman. He's tied to people who won't hesitate to bury you 6 feet under if it keeps their names out of the papers." My stomach turned. "So, I'm supposed to just die quietly?" He leaned closer, lowering his voice.
No.
"You're supposed to play smart. You've got one weapon left, Emily, your voice. Use it. Make them fear what you might say. Make them think killing you would only make things worse." His words planted a seed. I didn't have the files anymore, but maybe I didn't need them. Maybe all I had to do was convince them I had more tucked away somewhere safe. The next court date came faster than I expected. I was shackled again, cameras flashing, reporters shouting my name. As they dragged me into the courtroom, I looked directly at my father sitting in the gallery. His arms were folded, his face carved from stone. So I made my move. I stopped walking, turned to the judge, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Your Honor, before this trial goes further, I need to place something on record. If anything happens to me in here, or out there, the files I've hidden will expose everything my father has ever done. Every deal, every name, every cent." Gasps filled the room. Reporters scribbled like mad. My father's face twitched for the first time, his mask cracking. The judge banged his gavel. "Miss Carter, this is not the place." But it didn't matter. The damage was done. Because now the world was watching. And if my father silenced me, people would know exactly why. That night, back in my cell, I almost allowed myself to breathe. Almost. Until the guards slipped me a note. I unfolded it with trembling hands. 6 words, written in thick black ink. "The files won't save you forever." My blood turned to ice. Someone inside this jail was working for them. I barely slept, every creak and shadow making my heart race. But I had no choice. I had to survive. I had to outthink them. Days later, a new inmate was brought into my block. A woman with sharp eyes, a calmness that didn't belong in prison. She introduced herself as Raven. "You're Emily Carter," she said, smirking. "The girl who dared to bite the king's hand." I narrowed my eyes. "And who sent you?" She laughed.
No one.
"Not yet. But I know power when I see it. You want to bring your father down, don't you? Maybe we can help each other." I should have walked away. I should have kept quiet. But something about her, the way she carried herself, the way she seemed unafraid, pulled me in. So I asked, "Why would you help me?" Her smile widened. "Because, sweetheart, I've got nothing left to lose. And you? You've got a whole empire to burn." I didn't trust her, but I was desperate. That night, under the cover of whispers and shadows, Raven laid out a plan that chilled me to my core. "Your father won't let this go to trial. He'll make you disappear first. So we hit first. We hit hard. And we hit where it hurts most." My heart pounded. "Where?" She leaned closer, her voice ablaze. "At his crown. At the people who keep him untouchable. Judges. Partners. Politicians. We take one of them down, and he falls with them." I wanted to say no. I wanted to be the girl who played it safe, who believed in the system. But that girl had died the moment my father told me I didn't belong. So I nodded. And that was the night I agreed to become something I never thought I'd be, a criminal mastermind inside prison walls. But before the plan could begin, the guards stormed in at dawn, shouting my name. They yanked me from the cell, slammed me against the wall, and cuffed me tighter than ever. "You're being transferred," one barked. "Transferred where?" I demanded, but no one answered. As they dragged me away, Raven's voice echoed after me. "Survive this, Emily, and then we'll talk revenge." I was shoved into a van, the doors slamming shut. The engine roared. My heart raced. And then I realized there were no official markings on the vehicle. No prison logos. This wasn't a transfer. This was an abduction. The van jolted down a rough road, the metal floor rattling beneath me. My wrists ached in the cuffs, my heartbeat pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. This wasn't prison transport. I knew that the second the doors slammed. No markings. No chatter on radios. Just silence, except for the heavy breathing of two men sitting across from me, their faces masked. One of them caught me staring and smirked. "Your daddy sends his love." The words twisted in my stomach like a knife. My father hadn't just abandoned me. He had signed my death warrant. I pressed my back against the cold wall of the van, forcing my voice steady. "If you kill me, the files get released. Every last one of them." The men exchanged a look. One chuckled. "Nice bluff." But the other's jaw tightened. He wasn't so sure.
Good.
Fear was a weapon, and I had nothing else left. The van screeched to a stop. The doors flung open, blinding light pouring in. Rough hands yanked me out, dragging me across gravel until my knees burned. When my eyes adjusted, I realized where I was. An abandoned warehouse. Rusted beams, broken windows, the smell of oil and dust. My father's favorite kind of place to make problems disappear. And he was there. Daniel Carter stood in the middle of the room, his expensive suit crisp, his face calm, as if this was just another business meeting. "Emily," he said smoothly, "you've caused me more trouble than you'll ever understand." Rage surged through me, hot and blinding. "You set me up. You killed Michael. You tried to kill me in jail." He didn't even flinch. Michael was reckless. He took something that didn't belong to him. And you should have learned by now not to bite the hand that feeds you. Tears burned my eyes, but I forced myself to stand tall. "You're not my father. You're a monster hiding behind a family name." For the first time, his mask cracked. He stepped closer, his voice dropping into a hiss. "I built this empire from nothing. Do you think I'll let a bitter little girl tear it down? You're nothing, Emily. You always have been." I wanted to break. I wanted to scream. But instead I smiled. Because while he thought he was breaking me, I was already planting my own knife. "You're wrong," I said quietly. "Because the files aren't the only thing I hid." His eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" I tilted my head, savoring the moment. "I recorded everything at the reunion. Every word you said. Every time you tried to call me unstable. And by now, let's just say a copy is in very safe hands." It was a lie. A complete bluff. But it was the only weapon I had left. My father's jaw clenched. His eyes darted toward the men beside him. And in that tiny flicker of hesitation, I knew I'd struck a nerve. Before anyone could move, the sound of tires screeched outside. Doors slammed. Voices shouted. Suddenly, the warehouse filled with armed men in black uniforms. For one wild second, I thought it was the police. That maybe, by some miracle, justice had arrived. But then I saw the insignia on their vests. Not police. Not feds. Something worse. Federal Bureau of Investigation. One agent's voice boomed. "Daniel Carter, step away from the girl. You're under arrest for racketeering, fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder." Chaos erupted. My father shouted, his men drew weapons, and the FBI agents swarmed the room. Gunshots cracked, echoing off the walls. I dropped to the ground, hands over my head, heart pounding like it would burst. Through the madness, I saw him, my father, trying to run. Trying to escape. But two agents tackled him, slamming him to the ground. For the first time in my life, I saw Daniel Carter in handcuffs. And I should have felt relief. I should have felt victorious. But all I felt was hollow. Because deep down, I knew it wasn't over. As they pulled me to safety, one agent leaned close. His eyes were sharp, calculating. "You're lucky, Emily. But don't think this makes you safe. You're in deeper than you know." Before I could ask what he meant, they shoved me into a car, away from the warehouse, away from the sight of my father screaming as they dragged him away. The world outside blurred past the window, but inside, my mind spun. If the FBI was finally involved, then my father's empire was cracking. But empires don't fall quietly. They drag everything down with them. And I had just painted a target on my own back. That night, they released me into protective custody. A small safe house, one guard posted outside. I should have felt secure. But I couldn't stop hearing that agent's warning. You're in deeper than you know. And he was right. Because when I entered the safe house, my blood ran cold. Sitting at the table, waiting for me, was Raven. The same woman I'd met in jail. She smiled like she'd been expecting me all along. Welcome home, sweetheart. Ready to burn this whole thing to the ground. And that's when I realized the FBI hadn't rescued me. They had delivered me straight into the hands of someone even more dangerous. The safe house door slammed shut behind me, the lock clicking like the sound of a final judgment. Raven leaned back in her chair, legs crossed, cigarette smoke curling above her head. She looked completely at home, like this place belonged to her. I froze. What are you doing here? How did you even? She cut me off with a smirk. Relax, Emily. I told you we'd talk revenge. Did you really think the FBI saved you? Sweetheart, the FBI works with me. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? She flicked ash into an empty coffee mug. Your father wasn't the only one laundering money. He had partners, judges, politicians, men who thought they were untouchable. I was part of that world too, until he betrayed me. Her eyes burned as she leaned forward. Daniel Carter sold me out to save himself years ago. I rotted in a cell because of him.
And now?
I'm going to return the favor. With you. I staggered back, my chest tight. So, this was never about helping me? Her grin widened. Oh, it's about helping you.
Just not in the way you think.
See, the world already sees you as the black sheep, the unstable daughter, the murderer who got away. That makes you the perfect weapon. Nobody expects you to win, which is why you will. I shook my head, my pulse racing. You want me to destroy him from the inside? No, she said softly, deadly. I want you to destroy everyone. Your father, his allies, the rotten structure they built. We don't just pull down the king, Emily. We burn the entire castle. Her words lit something inside me. A part of me that had been buried beneath fear and heartbreak. A part of me that wanted more than justice. I wanted fire. But I hesitated. And if I say no? Raven's smile faded. She stubbed her cigarette out with a slow twist. Then you'll end up like Michael. The name stabbed through me. Rage surged, so hot I thought I'd explode. I slammed my fists on the table.
Fine.
I'll do it. But when this is over, Raven, it ends on my terms. She laughed, low and dangerous. That's the spirit. The next weeks blurred into a storm. Raven had contacts everywhere. Dirty cops, hackers, people who owed her favors. Together, we pieced together what my father had built, mapping out the network of bribes, threats, and blood money. Every file we unearthed, every name we exposed, pushed me further into the darkness. I stopped being Emily Carter, victim. I was becoming Emily Carter, executioner. The first strike was brutal. A judge who had taken millions from my father woke one morning to find his bank accounts drained, his offshore secrets plastered across national news. He resigned in disgrace within 24 hours. The second strike was bloodier. A contractor who laundered dirty money through fake building projects was found in his car, the engine running, hose connected from the exhaust. Officially? Suicide. Unofficially? A message. I didn't ask Raven if she arranged it. I didn't want to know. All I knew was that piece by piece, the empire was crumbling. And my father was watching from his prison cell, powerless. Or so I thought. Because one night, as I was reviewing files with Raven, my burner phone buzzed. No caller ID. Against my better judgment, I answered. Emily. It was his voice. My father's. Low, hoarse, but steady. Don't think you've won. You're playing a game you don't understand. Raven doesn't care about you. She's using you. And when she's done, you'll be her next casualty. My throat tightened. You don't get to warn me. You don't get to say my name after what you did. Listen to me, he snapped. Raven is the reason Michael is dead. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. What? She wanted leverage. Michael stole that phone, but Raven wanted it. When he didn't play along, she had him killed. Not me, Emily. Her. The line went dead. I stood there frozen, my mind screaming. Could it be true? Had Raven played me from the start? She noticed my face and tilted her head. What's wrong, sweetheart? I forced a smile, shoving the phone deep into my pocket.
Nothing.
Just another piece of the puzzle. But inside, my world was unraveling. Because if my father was telling the truth, then I wasn't teaming up with my father's enemy. I was sleeping beside Michael's killer. And that night, as I lay awake in the safe house, I made a decision. I would finish this war. I would destroy my father, yes. But when the dust settled, I'd turn my blade on Raven too. The question was, who would strike first? The next morning, Raven handed me a folder thicker than any before. This is it, she said, her voice humming with excitement. The nail in his coffin. Court transcripts, bank records, deals with senators. Once we leak this, Daniel Carter is done forever. I stared at the folder. My hands shook. Because inside that file wasn't just evidence against my father, it held my own name. My crimes. My thefts. My involvement with Michael. The blood on my hands. Raven was right. She didn't just want to burn him down. She wanted to burn me down with him. And for the first time, I realized the truth. This was never my revenge story. It was hers. The folder trembled in my hands, heavier than steel. My name was written across those pages like a death sentence. Every crime, every secret, every bloody piece of my journey. Documented, ready to burn me alive the second Raven chose. She leaned back, her smirk sharp as a blade. See, sweetheart? With this, we own him. Daniel Carter's empire ends tonight. But I saw it. The trap. The way she said we but meant me first. She hadn't just built a noose for my father. She'd built one for me. And suddenly, the rage that had carried me this far burned clear. My father destroyed my innocence. Raven destroyed my trust. Michael was dead because of both of them. I would not let either of them write my ending. I slid the folder shut and smiled. You're right, Raven. Tonight, we finish him. That evening, she and I staged the biggest leak yet, bank records, wire transfers, and signed deals between my father and corrupt senators. Within hours, news stations lit up, politicians resigned, and Daniel Carter's name was dragged through mud he could never wash off. Raven raised her glass of whiskey, triumphant. To us, Emily. We just killed a king. I clinked my glass against hers. To us. But my drink wasn't whiskey. It was water. Hers wasn't. The poison worked fast. Her smirk faltered, her glass slipped, and she dropped to her knees, clutching her throat. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but in recognition. You, she gasped. I knelt beside her, whispering, You killed Michael. You used me. You thought I was your weapon, but I was always the fire. Her body hit the floor, lifeless. I stood, my heart steady for the first time in years. Then I opened the folder, pulled out every page with my name, and fed them one by one into the fireplace. My father called again from prison that night. His voice cracked with fury. You think you've won? You're still my blood, Emily. You can't erase me. I smiled into the silence. You're right, Dad. I can't erase you. But I can make sure the world only remembers you as a traitor, a liar, and a man whose daughter burned his empire to ash. I hung up. For good. By dawn, the headlines screamed of corruption trials, the fall of powerful men, and the mysterious death of Raven Black. My name never appeared once. I walked out into the rising sun, the ashes of my past behind me. I wasn't Daniel Carter's daughter anymore. I wasn't Raven's pawn. I was Emily Carter, survivor, executioner,
Free.
And for the first time, I whispered the words that felt like victory. They said I didn't belong here, but I made sure they'll never belong anywhere again. The war was over, and I had won.